What's up, YouTube? This is G-Man coming at you back with part number 26. I messed up my numbers between numbers 22 and 25, and I got one behind. So the correction is made now, and I'm skipping part 25, even though I do have part 25, but in the last video I say it's part 24. So there won't be a video where I say this is part 25. So this is part 26, because the last video was, in fact, part 25. So, yeah. Okay. So, here we go. Let's continue where we let off with Mr. Sungenis and Mr. Dr. Kent Hovind. Dr. Sungenis and Dr. Kent Hovind. And pick up where we were talking about the shallow earth. Oh, I want to say that the shallow earth is highly possible. Shallow earth. That the hollow earth is highly possible. There's so many caverns in the earth. We keep discovering new ones all the time. You know, and it's just highly possible that, you know, there could be an entire population of people that went underground a long time ago, and they just live under there now. Or it's entirely possible that the demons went underground and that's where they reside. Underwater also, you know, you can go watch Secure Team 10, and he says that he's a person that I believe is pretty researched up, and he says that 90% of our oceans are completely unknown, unexplored. We have no clue what's underneath those waters. And I agree with him on that. And so that means 10% of our oceans, and I think that's being very generous, you know, to say that 10% of our oceans are in fact explored. So anyways, the hollow earth, you know, it's highly possible. Okay, let's get into it.
I mean, we have satellites going, polar directed satellites going over the North Pole on a daily basis. Nobody has seen this. I mean, where is this coming from? I mean,
He has to believe that we have satellites that are up there going over the North Pole on a daily basis. He has to accept that by faith. So he's believing the words of man. But what does the Bible say? The Bible says that there's a firmament up there, and nothing is going beyond that firmament. So whenever you're talking about satellites, you're talking about objects in the sky that are in the area where the firmament would be and above the firmament. So the Bible says, though, that there's a firmament and nothing's going beyond that. So there is no orbiting satellites. It's impossible. Not if there's a firmament up there. All right, let's continue.
I've learned in my lifetime, as you probably have in yours.
Let me just say this as a bit of a tag along to the satellites thing. Satellites. There are satelloons. There are satellites that do hang from balloons that are up there. We have evidence. We have proof of this. This is not something that we have to guess or accept by faith. This is something that we have found these satelloons. They have crash landed. They have come back down. They have crash landed, and they go way up. They go way up, and they, you know, I don't know how they work, but I guess they have a circuit, just like the sun and the moon has a circuit that goes, you know, around the earth. So, yeah, satelloons. Pretty interesting concept there, but most all our communication is done through conduits and gigantic wiring and here on the earth that they stretch for miles and miles underneath the sea, and they and it stretches for miles and miles underneath the underneath the ground. And plus they have all kinds of towers that they communicate with. There's towers every few miles that form an entire grid that is used for communication. So anyways, let's continue.
There's all kinds.
Yeah. Those. I also want to say that the towers, it actually makes it so that the satellites don't have. They're useless. They're obsolete because we've got all these towers that are just everywhere. So, and the towers, they transfer the message from one point to the other across the globe. Across the globe. There's my indoctrination right there. All right, let's move on.
Stories out there. Separating the wheat from the chaff is a real hard job.
We have satellite images of satellites that are going around the equatorial orbit and polar orbit, going around this way and all kinds of different orbits. And they have collage pictures that they take thousands of pictures and stitch them together, which is simple, mathematics there, because you're trying to take a flat picture of a curved surface, and you have to do that, stitch the pictures together. Just like when they make a mercantile map, they will slice it and have to spread it out. You can't project a circular image on a flat surface without stretching it someplace. So how do they explain that?
You can't stretch. Okay, so they get pictures, and these pictures are a collage that you can piece together, and he thinks that this collage goes to create the globe. And that's what Kent Hovind is saying. He thinks that the collage can all be pieced together, and my back scratcher. Okay, he thinks that the collage can be pieced together, and if you piece all these images together, they all can only form a globe because they all have this curvature, just that will form the globe, that will form the ball. And so that right there is an evidence to him that these pictures, the fact that they can only come together to form a ball, a globe, that means that we have to live on a ball. So anyways, but the truth is that it's not satellites taking those pictures at all. If it's satellites, no, it's airplanes. They got airplanes that can go up really high altitude, and the airplanes are just taking pictures. Just like the Hubble Space Telescope. The Hubble Space Telescope is one of the satellites that is a hoax, and there's an airplane that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it actually is up there, and the airplane has a telescope on it, and it's taking pictures pointed up, at the firmament, and it's taking pictures. So it's the same thing. They can take these airplanes, point them down, and, we think that we're seeing pictures from a super high altitude, where the satellites can only be, but these are just pictures that are taken from airplanes that are at super high altitudes themselves, and but not as high as satellites would go. So the airplanes take the pictures, and it's of the flat Earth. They just they easily wrap the picture. It's easy to do. Once you zoom out enough, you see. Once you zoom out enough and Google Earth, it becomes a cartoon ball. It's not a real ball anymore. It just becomes a CGI created image inside of a computer. So you've got the real images. You get closer and closer. You start out with the globe Earth, that's a CGI cartoon image, and then you start zooming in, and eventually, at a certain point, it becomes real images, real pictures that they've actually taken. Okay, and that's all that's happened. It's not the pictures taken on a globe. It's the pictures taken over the flat Earth, and they zoom out to make it look like we're on a ball. But the truth is, they don't have any pictures of the actual globe, Earth. Okay, so this video is at 10:21, 10:23, 10:24, 25. Okay, I'm going to continue in the next video. G-Man out.